According to the father of American education, John Dewey, education provides an opportunity to contribute to students' indirect and vital moral education. In this conception, moral education occurs every school day and in every discipline. As such, popular music education has an opportunity to bring intellectual results into vital union with character so that they become working forces in behavior. What ideas do popular musics open for indirect moral education through music? I have argued that music education should be expanded to include ecological literacy. There are ecological aspects in music that music teachers use in the classroom. To exemplify, natural soundscapes have long inspired compositions, and many activists use folk music in environmental justice movements. There are, however, more indirect, to use Dewey's term, ways music teachers contribute to students' moral education. Because of equipment and energy use practices, waste is one crisis that music education can ease or worsen. In this paper, I discuss the challenge of waste in relation to popular music education, and specifically use rock music to explore waste and opportunities for resistance. I use instrument making in a class I teach, Rudiments of Music. I feel it helps students understand music elements such as rhythm and melodic elements, timbre, texture, and form, and opens space for collaboration and group agency. It also initiates a type of creativity that integrates songwriting, composing, and improvising, in addition to the creative work of finding plans for making an instrument. I just added a new pickup and it's radical. The dark-haired teenager wearing a Rat t-shirt was playing Paranoid on his homemade guitar. The late 1980s, and though it was already nearly 2 decades old, this Sabbath classic provided an accessible riff, frequently played by self-taught rock guitarists. Still in the 8th grade, I was the youngest member of my first garage band. I began playing drums because I wanted to play music that I listened to. Though I doubt the guitarist's aim was waste reduction, he felt a deep connection to this particular instrument because he built it. He upgraded and replaced parts over the years. I suspect few purchased, factory-made instruments inspire as deep a connection. Like Theseus's famed ship, some version of this instrument lives today. Today, we music teachers are beginning to recognize our responsibilities in our wasteful consumer society. The landfill philharmonic emerges in the global south, a mirror challenging our wasteful practices. Many musicians and groups, from Ken Butler to Wakchi to the Anarchestra, are making music with homemade instruments, including repurposed trash. And music teachers are rediscovering the benefits of using homemade instruments in a classroom. Though all music education practices can potentially exacerbate our waste crisis, this paper focuses on popular music education because, as we incorporate popular music genres, we make decisions about what practices are best, and in the 21st century, the ecological crises should not be ignored. United Nations Environment suggests e-waste is a fast-growing ecological concern in developed as well as developing countries. Quote, due to the fact that the lifespan of computers has dropped in developed countries from 6 years in 1997 to just 2 years in 2005, and mobile phones have a lifespan of even less than 2 years, the amount of generated e-waste per year grows rapidly. End quote. Many of the tools of rock and hip-hop and other popular music genres, such as electric guitars, synthesizers, computers, and iPads, are, after their use, categorized as e-waste. The word waste refers to things with no value. In other words, we call something waste when it cannot be used. For 200,000 years, Homo sapiens, with fully evolved brains, operative societies, and vibrant cultures, have lived on this planet, but in 200 years, our Industrial Revolution has brought Mother Earth to her knees. The U.S. and other nations in the global north create a lot of waste. And waste isn't limited to physical objects. Metaphorically, we talk about people as wasting their time, or, in the extreme, we talk about people as waste. As something that no longer has value, waste can refer to those things people do, such as employment, and waste is a dominant metaphor in popular music, especially rock. The arts themselves are often viewed as waste. Many music teachers have heard some variation on the theme, playing music is a waste of time, or have been told their work is supplemental to the important work of schools, the 3 R's: reading, writing, and arithmetic. And even those R's are reduced in today's education to a STEM that really means only technology and engineering, the consumerist sciences, since science and mathematics, for their own sakes, can be neglected as other disciplines are. Waste is linked with consumption. In consumer societies, waste is something we neglect. When we deem something useless, we take our distance from it. Therefore, once we produce waste, we want to forget it. This is where the problem begins. On a planet with more than 7 billion human inhabitants, landfills and methane, incinerators and dioxin, and radioactive waste are inescapable realities. Poet and literary scholar Wendell Berry implicates us all in our waste. He writes, "But our waste problem is not the fault of only producers. It is the fault of an economy that is wasteful from top to bottom, a symbiosis of an unlimited greed at the top and a lazy, passive, and self-indulgent consumptiveness at the bottom. And all of us are involved in it." Can popular music educators push back against our wasteful society? Or does the implication of rock in our consumer society mean the structure is insurmountable? Popular music education is connected to ideas of informal learning, enculturation, and immersion, performing, creating, and listening. Music educator Lucy Green suggests each of these involve giving up power, providing students more autonomy to decide on curriculum content and to direct their own learning strategies. The teacher who opens their classroom to student control opens themselves to uncertainty and possible failures. Philosopher Randall Everett Alsop argues for a teaching approach that appreciates art's ideals as ambiguous and open. This approach to popular music education may provoke a type of moral education for teachers and students, even when, or maybe especially when, we allow our authority as teachers to be destabilized. Approached in an integrated way, popular music has an opportunity to increase ecological literacy. Certainly songs like Neil Young's Be the Rain, Ziggy Marley's Dragonfly, Joe Walsh's Song for a Dying Planet, Rush's The Trees, The Pretenders' My City Was Gone, and the Beatles' Mother Nature's Sons contain overt environmental ideas. An integrated approach to ecological literacy doesn't only mean directing students to learn such songs. Teaching as ecological literacy holistically reintegrates the moral with the ecological, the scientific with the aesthetic and ethical, weaving together the array of perspectives that moderns need to attend to their questions to live the good life in times morally difficult and ecologically destructive. Living the good life can involve making music one loves, rather than being uprooted from out-of-school musical cultures, and it also involves making music in sustainable ways. It's inescapable that popular music produces material waste. For performers, waste includes electronic equipment, which is often built for obsolescence, designed to break down. And for listeners, material waste includes vinyl records, cassettes, CDs, and now iPhones. Further, popular music performances are energy intensive. Setups include power for PA systems, instruments, amps, and monitors. While famous groups travel from city to city on jets, even local performers doing an acoustic set require a large van. A small electric car won't carry much equipment. In But Is It Garbage?, Stephen Hamelman discusses waste as a dominant metaphor in rock music. In descriptions, rock critics use many variations of the trash trope. Rock lyrics and band names incorporate trash, waste, and garbage, and the early death by rock stars is itself a tragic dimension of the trash trope, the ultimate form of waste, men and women dying well before middle age. Consequently, as we incorporate popular music into our teaching practices, What can we do to resist material and metaphorical waste? I believe that instrument making can be a part of such a resistance. What are the benefits to instrument making in music education? In the early 20th century, Sadis Coleman wrote extensively about her creative approach to music education. Coleman's pedagogy began with a simple instrument making. She had students take field trips to museums and into nature. She used found sounds and guided young students to compose their own symphony. She suggested making instruments in school expanded students' knowledge and appreciation, self-cultivation, improved student interest, fostered initiative, and interdisciplinary thinking. In more recent scholarship, Matthew Thibault and Julian Envoy describe instrument making as collaborative, and note that building ukuleles increased personal attachment to the instrument. Quote, "Having put several hours into the construction of my ukulele, I now cringe at the thought of rock stars bashing their guitars into amps at the end of concerts. Someone put a lot of time and effort into making those instruments." In an ethnographic study of the shakuhachi tradition in Japan, which begins with going outdoors to choose a bamboo instrument for instrument making, Koji Matsunobu also described increased attachment to the instrument. Instrument making fosters a better understanding of acoustics, allows students to explore the relationship between instruments and music, and increases cultural awareness. Further, he noted participants experienced increased connection to places and communities, increased creativity, and integration of the ideas of mind and body. In an autoethnography considering pedagogical implications for making guitars, Clint Randalls discussed learning how material variables contributed to the tonal characteristics of the guitar. He saw this as part of an adaptive and innovative change. Quote, "All of the components of the guitar, wood, pickups, electronics, etc., contribute to the overall sound. All of the enabling skills and enabling conditions work together to contribute to the creative process." End quote. Important to music educators, instrument making augmented Randall's love for music making. Though music education can never be part of the three modern educational R's, with some change, we can exemplify the postmodern R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle. Instrument making can help us be models for reduced consumption in our schools. And as we reuse and recycle equipment, we can do our part to resist waste. Educational philosopher Madhu Suri Prakash describes the global economy as wasteful and recommends teachers look to rooted cultures where local inventiveness and sustainable living are embodied. This reducing ethic for moral education can involve letting each classroom decide on purchases rather than making purchases at the district or state levels. A teacher might also consider how far components have traveled in a process similar to the better-known concept of food miles. There are many opportunities for music educators to reuse equipment. We can begin by refusing to purchase equipment with built-in obsolescence. This may be as easy as asking your vendors how long a piece of equipment can be expected to work and, for software, to remain updated. Vendors need to know long-lasting equipment is important to their customers. You can also challenge yourself and anyone else involved in making purchases by asking, do I really need these new? We can use our equipment and reuse it, and when in doubt, fix it and use it again. A new piece of junk isn't always better than an old one. Further, as we move toward more popular music in the schools, encourage local stores to, if they do not already, begin systems like in band and orchestra where instruments are rented. Finally, it is important to recycle electronics. With 20 to 50 million metric tons disposed worldwide every year, e-waste, which represents only 2% of trash in U.S. landfills, contributes 70% of overall toxic waste. Many cities and towns sponsor electronics pickup days, and you can check the Call to Recycle website to learn how to recycle equipment properly. You can also learn to disassemble and recycle components using online resources such as Instructables. This may be most consistent with a rock ethic embracing DIY, do it yourself. Don't allow yourself to become obsolescent. Following Dewey, Moral education occurs in indirect and vital ways, and popular music can contribute to moral action, including cultivating ecological literacy. Instrument making can be one way for music teachers and students to resist the waste crisis. Not only does instrument making increase student knowledge and interest, it also helps them see music as interdisciplinary, creative, connected to other disciplines, and builds attachment to an instrument and personal agency, in addition to reducing material waste. Music educator Vincent Bates criticizes the glamorizations of mass-produced consumables. He describes this type of waste as magnified, quote, waste compounded many times over by reinforcing in the minds of children the unquestioned goodness and necessity of technological innovation. I contend that instrument making can resist this magnification by placing in the hands of students, quite literally, the power to construct their worlds, rather than making them passive consumers in a faceless, placeless global economy. Moderns hoping for a level of consumption out of reach for, and destructive to, many people around the globe. In our move to incorporate popular musics, instrument making can reduce waste, of material and of people, and can be part of a truly moral education.